Captain Jum Kim wiped the sweat from his brow as he looked at the red sky above. The air here was too thick, too hot. But complaining would not help. Nothing would help except finishing the mission. "Status report," he said into his helmet comm. "Eastern sector clear," came Daz's voice. Dod Park was the best scout Jun had ever known. If he said it was clear, it was clear. "Medical supplies running low," said Hyun. Her voice was tired. They were all tired. 3 more wounded in the last push. "Explosives ready for the next phase," said Suk. Unlike the others, she sounded almost happy. Suk Choi always found joy in her work with bombs. Maybe that was why the creche kept her alive despite her attitude. Jun nodded to himself. His team was ready. The humans were ready. The creche would come soon to check on their progress. The creche. Tall, strong aliens with sharp teeth and claws. They ruled many worlds across the stars. They claimed to be the top hunters of the galaxy. And they used humans as their war dogs. For 30 years, the creche had controlled Earth. They came with ships that darkened the sky. They killed millions in the first week. Then they offered a deal: serve or die. Humans would fight the creche's battles on dangerous worlds. In return, Earth would be spared. So here they were, on a small moon rich with rare metals. The people who lived here had tried to break free from creche rule. Now Jun and his soldiers had to crush that hope. Movement at the ridge. Day's voice cut in. 5. No, 6 creche commanders approaching. Jun stood straighter. "Everyone look sharp," he ordered. The creche walked with the easy grace of predators. Their gray skin reflected the red sunlight. Their yellow eyes looked down at the humans with disgust. "Captain Kim," said the lead creche. His name was Commander Vrock. "Your progress is slow." Jun kept his face blank. "The rebels have hidden bunkers we didn't expect. We've lost 14 soldiers breaking through their lines." Vrock made a sound like rocks grinding together. It was creche laughter. "Only 14. Send more. We need this moon secure by the rising of the third sun." "My team needs rest," Jun said carefully. "We've been fighting for 20 hours straight." Vrock's eyes narrowed. "Your kind is supposed to be tough. That's why we keep you alive. Or do you think we value humans for your intelligence?" He looked at the other creche, who all made that grinding laugh. "My team can keep going," Jun said, "but we'll lose more people without rest." "Then lose them," Vrock said. "There are always more humans." He pointed to the rebel stronghold in the distance. "Take that position within 6 hours or I'll have your team replaced. The new team's first job will be to execute any survivors from your failure." Jun felt his hands tighten into fists. But he nodded. "Yes, Commander." When the creche left, Suk came to stand beside him. "One day," she whispered, "I'll put a bomb right under their feet." "Not today," Jun warned. "They call us hyenas," Daz said as he joined them. "I heard them. They think we're scavengers who feed on leftovers from their hunts." Hyun walked up, wiping blood from her medical kit. "Hyenas are tough," she said. "They survive." Jun looked at his team, the best human soldiers in the creche forces, the ones who always survived somehow. "Then we're hyenas," he said. "And hyenas know how to hunt when they need to." He turned to look at the rebel base. More humans would die today. But not his people. Not if he could help it. "Prepare to move out," he ordered. "We attack in 30 minutes. Day, find us a way in that won't get us all killed. Suk, I want focused explosions, nothing that kills civilians. Hyun, do what you can for the wounded, then get ready to move." As his team hurried to obey, Jun looked up at the red sky once more. Somewhere up there was Earth. Somewhere up there was home. One day, they would go back. One day. But first, they had to survive. Smoke filled the air as Jun led his team through the broken rebel base. They had won, but at a high cost. 23 humans dead. All for a mining moon that most creche probably couldn't even name. Clear the rest of the buildings, June ordered. Make sure no rebels are hiding. Sook checked her scanner. There's something strange in the main mining shaft. Heavy metal readings, but not the usual kind. I'll check it, said Da. Better than looking at more bodies. June nodded. Take Sook with you, Hyun, and I will finish here. As Dai and Sook headed toward the mine entrance, Hyun knelt beside a wounded rebel. The man was dying. Nothing could save him now. Why fight? Hyun asked softly. You knew the Kresh would send us. The man coughed blood. Because, in the deep mines, we found. He stopped breathing before he could finish. Hyun closed the man's eyes. June, we should check on Dai and Sook. Something in her voice made June agree at once. They hurried to the mine entrance. Inside, the air was cool and damp. Their helmet lights cut through the darkness as they descended. The shaft went deep into the moon's crust. After 10 minutes of walking, they heard Sook's voice ahead. That's impossible, she was saying. This can't be right. June and Hyun found them in a small chamber off the main tunnel. Dae stood frozen, staring at something on the wall. Sook was running her scanner over strange crystals that glowed with soft blue light. What did you find? June asked. Dae pointed without speaking. There, carved into the rock wall, was an image of the Kresh, but not as June knew them. These Kresh were smaller, hunched over, with fear in their eyes. They were running from larger creatures that looked like giant birds of prey. The crystals, Sook said. They're data storage. Ancient. I think the rebels found them while mining and learned how to read them. She pressed a crystal, and light filled the chamber. A three-dimensional image appeared in the air. It showed Kresh history, but not the history they had been taught. They were prey, Hyun whispered. The Kresh were prey animals. The images showed how the early Kresh lived in fear, hiding in burrows. Then came scenes of labs, of Kresh working with genetic tools, changing themselves, generation by generation, becoming bigger, stronger, more aggressive. They made themselves into predators, Dae said. Everything they told us about being natural hunters was a lie. Sook's scanner beeped. There's more data here than I can process, but I think these crystals are more than just records. They might contain the actual genetic codes, the original Kresh DNA. June thought quickly. This was dangerous knowledge. If the Kresh found out humans knew their secret, download everything, he decided. But be careful. We don't want to alert the Kresh. Sook connected her scanner to the largest crystal. Downloading now. Dae checked his comm unit. That's strange. Our normal channel to Kresh command is blocked. Some kind of interference. Or they're blocking us on purpose, Hyun suggested. Maybe they know what's down here. June felt a chill. Finish the download. Fast. Then we need to act normal. The Kresh can't know we found this. Too late to hide it completely. Sook said. The rebels knew. That's why they'd fought so hard. They didn't care about this moon. They'd wanted time to study these crystals. The download completed with a soft chime. Sook disconnected her scanner and hid it in her pack. What do we do now? Dae asked. June looked at the images one last time before turning off the crystal. The truth about the Kresh, the empire that controlled dozens of worlds and species, was in their hands. For now, we say nothing, he said. We complete the mission. Act normal. When we're back on our transport ship, we'll find a way to check this data without the Kresh knowing. And then? Hyun asked. June's eyes hardened. Then we decide if it's time for the hyenas to stop laughing at death and start bringing it to our masters. They'll watch us more closely now, Dae said. June's team sat in their small quarters on the transport ship. They were heading back to the main Kresh base in this system. After the incident at the celebration, the Kresh had separated the human squads, trying to stop them from talking to each other. Did you see their faces? Sook smiled. When we all started laughing, they didn't know what to do. Hyun nodded. For a moment, they looked like prey again. June took out Sook's scanner and placed it on the table. We need to decide what to do with this information. We can't fight the Kresh with guns. They're too strong, and they have too many ships. We could contact other human teams, Hyun suggested. Share what we found. And then what? Dai asked. Start a rebellion. We'd all die. Sook picked up the scanner. I could use this genetic data to make a weapon. Something that targets original Kresh DNA. A bioweapon. June shook his head. Too dangerous. It could spread to other species, maybe even humans. They fell silent, thinking. The hum of the ship's engines filled the room. Finally, June spoke. What if we don't need weapons? What if we already found one? The others looked at him, confused. The laugh, June explained. You saw how it affected them. They didn't understand it. It made them uncomfortable. But that won't win a war, Daz said. Maybe not by itself, June agreed. But what if we use the crystal data to find other weaknesses? Not physical ones, mental ones. Sook's eyes widened. Their psychology. The Kresh changed their bodies, but maybe not their minds. Not completely. Exactly, June said. Deep inside, the Kresh still have the instincts of prey animals, fear responses they can't control. Hyun leaned forward. Like what? June turned to Sook. Can you use the data to identify those responses? Things that would trigger fear in the original Kresh. Sook thought for a moment, then nodded. Yes, the data shows their early brain structure. I can find patterns, triggers. Like what we did by accident at the celebration, Day realized. The laughing. It confused them because prey animals don't laugh at predators. We attack their minds, June said. Make them remember what they once were. Use their own fear against them. Psychological warfare, Han said softly. But how do we spread this to other humans? The Kresh are watching us. June smiled. They're watching what we say. But not how we say it. We can hide messages in our normal reports. Encoded information about Kresh psychology. And we can use the laugh as a signal. Other humans will understand something has changed. Day nodded slowly. It could work. But it will take time. We have time, June said. The Kresh have ruled for 30 years. We can be patient for a few more months. Over the next weeks, they worked in secret. Sook studied the crystal data, finding weaknesses in Kresh psychology. Dag created codes to hide messages in regular reports. Hyun learned which physical movements triggered subtle fear responses in Kresh officers. They discovered many things. The Kresh hated when humans stood at their full height. They became nervous when humans maintained eye contact. Certain sounds at specific frequencies made them twitch without knowing why. Most importantly, they found that the Kresh had never truly overcome their innate fear of being surrounded. Their ancestors had been hunted by pack predators. Even now, when humans moved in certain patterns, it activated ancient Kresh fear responses. 1 month after finding the crystals, Jum sent the first coded message to other human teams across the Empire. It contained instructions on how to exploit these psychological weaknesses, all hidden within a standard mission report. The message ended with a simple instruction. When the time comes, laugh. Laugh like you know something they don't. Because now we do. The HYENAS hunt had begun. 3 months passed. Jum's team was sent on 2 more missions. Each time, they left behind coded messages for other humans. Each time, they watched the Kresh more carefully, learning their weaknesses. On the industrial world of Deimos 3, a human mining crew prepared for the first test of their plan. Their leader was Jin Ryu, a former soldier who had received Jun's coded messages. The mines of Deimos 3 produced metals for Kresh ships. The humans worked 16 hours each day. Those who failed to meet quotas were punished or killed. Today, Jin and his crew of 20 humans stood in the main processing center. Their Kresh overseers approached, angry about the latest production numbers. "You are behind schedule again," the lead Kresh overseer said. His name was Thrak, and he enjoyed hurting humans. Explain this failure. In the past, Jin would have looked down. He would have made excuses. He would have shown fear. Not today. Jin stood at his full height. He looked directly into Thrak's yellow eyes. Around him, the other humans did the same. The equipment is old, Jin said calmly. We need new drilling machines. Thrak stepped back, surprised by Jin's direct gaze. You will work harder with what you have, or there will be punishments. The humans did not react with fear. Instead, they began to move. Slowly, they spread out in a circle around the 5 Kresh overseers. They moved in a pattern that June's message had described, the pattern of ancient predators from the Kresh homeworld. What are you doing? Thrak demanded. His hand moved to his weapon. Return to your positions. The humans continued to move. Then, Jin laughed. The same hollow laugh that had started on that moon 3 months ago. The other humans joined in. The sound echoed through the metal walls of the processing center. The Kresh overseers looked at each other. Their breathing quickened. Their eyes darted from human to human. Ancient instincts stirred in their brains, instincts they didn't understand. Thrak pulled out his weapon. Stop this now, or I will shoot. Jin took 1 step forward, then another, still laughing, still looking directly into Thrak's eyes. Thrak fired. The shot missed, hitting the wall behind Jin. Thrak's hand was shaking. 2 of the Kresh overseers suddenly turned and ran. They didn't know why. They just needed to escape. The remaining Kresh, including Thrak, fought against their instincts. They raised their weapons and fired. 3 humans fell. But the others kept moving forward, still laughing that terrible laugh. In the confusion, Jin reached Thrak. The Kresh overseer swung his weapon like a club, but fear made him clumsy. Jin ducked under the blow and pushed Thrak hard against a metal container. You are prey, Jin whispered, and you know it now. The rebellion was crushed within an hour. Kresh soldiers flooded the processing center. Half of Jin's crew was killed. The rest were beaten and locked away. But news of the incident spread. The Kresh commanders called it a minor problem, quickly solved. But privately, they were disturbed. Why had the humans acted this way? Why had their overseers hesitated? Most troubling of all, why had 2 Kresh run away? Across the Empire, human crews heard whispers about what happened on Deimos 3. They didn't need details. They had received June's messages. They knew what the laughing meant. On the Kresh homeworld, General Raoul read the reports from Deimos 3 with growing concern. Something was changing among the humans, something he didn't understand. Bring me Captain Kim and his team, he ordered. I want them where I can watch them. What Raoul didn't know was that this was exactly what June had been waiting for. 1 year had passed since June and his team found the crystals. Now they lived on the Kresh homeworld. They had been given a great honor, serving as personal guards to General Raoul. But June knew the truth. The general wanted to watch them closely. That was fine. It gave them access to the central military network. Status report, June said quietly as his team patrolled the halls of the Imperial Palace. 23 incidents across 15 worlds in the last month, Dai whispered. Human crews standing too tall. Making eye contact. Using the laugh. Casualties, June asked. Fewer than before, Han said. Humans are learning. Small actions. Nothing that looks like a real rebellion. Just enough to make the Kresh uncomfortable. Suk smiled. And our special project is ready. I planted the virus last night. Their special project was Suk's idea. A virus in the Kresh security system that changed how humans looked on camera. Made them appear slightly larger. Made their movements seem more predatory. Any problems with the general? June asked. He's not sleeping well, Hyun reported. I heard him talking to his doctor. He has nightmares about being hunted. Good, June thought. The psychological warfare was working. Slowly but surely. Later that day, June stood guard while General Raul met with other high-ranking Kresh. They thought the humans couldn't understand their language. They were wrong. The problems are spreading, one commander said. Human workers on 3 more worlds are acting strangely. Not rebellion exactly, but different. Different how? Raul demanded. They don't show proper fear, another Kresh said. They look at us directly. They stand too close. And that laugh, that empty laugh. It's nothing, Raul insisted. Humans are simple creatures. They can't organize across worlds. Then why are you keeping Captain Kim so close? The first commander asked. There are rumors that you fear him. Raul growled. I fear nothing, especially not humans. But June, standing silently by the door, saw how Raul's claws dug into the table, saw the tension in his muscles. The general was lying. That night, June sent a new message through their hidden network. It was time for the next phase. Over the following months, reports came in from across the Empire. Kresh officers complained of nightmares. Some refused to be alone with human soldiers. Others jumped at strange sounds. The laugh spread like a disease from world to world. Most effective was how humans now moved in formation. When 5 or more humans walked together, they unconsciously formed patterns that triggered deep Kresh fears. Patterns like those used by the ancient predators that had once hunted Kresh ancestors. In the Imperial Palace, General Raul became increasingly paranoid. He studied June and his team constantly, looking for signs of rebellion. But they were careful. They showed proper respect. They obeyed orders perfectly. They never laughed in his presence. Still, sometimes Raul would catch June looking at him, not with fear or hatred, with something worse, understanding, as if June could see through his Kresh exterior to the frightened prey animal hidden beneath. The error rates among Kresh officers are increasing, Day reported one evening. Some can't give orders to human troops without their voices shaking. And their sleep problems are getting worse, Hyun added. The palace doctor has ordered 3 times the normal amount of sleep medication. Suk checked her small scanner. The virus is working too. The security feeds make our movements look slightly wrong. Predatory. The Kresh watching don't know why they feel uneasy. June nodded. It's time for the final phase. The Empire's founding celebration is in 2 weeks. All the highest Kresh leaders will be there. And so will we, Daz said. Yes, June agreed. And thousands of other humans. All of them were ready to laugh. The day of the Empire's founding celebration arrived. The capital city was decorated with Kresh symbols. Giant screens showed scenes of Kresh victories. 10,000 Kresh citizens filled the main square. And 5,000 human soldiers stood in perfect formation, ready to march past the Imperial stand where General Raul and the Kresh leaders waited. June and his team stood behind General Raul, serving as his honor guard. They wore special uniforms for the event. Their faces showed no emotion. Everything is ready, Dodd whispered, barely moving his lips. June gave a small nod. Their plan was in place. Every human in the parade had received the message. The crystal data had been prepared. Suk had loaded it into the central communication system. The celebration began with speeches about Kresh greatness, how they had conquered the stars because they were born to rule, how other species, like humans, were naturally meant to serve. Today we celebrate 100 years since our glorious empire began its expansion to the stars, General Raul announced. 100 years of rightful Kresh dominance. The crowd cheered. In his full dress uniform, Raul looked powerful and confident, but June could see the signs of stress. The general hadn't slept well in months. And now, Raul continued, witness the might of our military forces. The parade began. First came the Kresh elite units, marching proudly with their advanced weapons. Then came ships flying low over the square. Finally, it was time for the human troops. As the humans began their march, something changed. The formation shifted slightly, not enough for the Kresh to notice consciously. but enough to trigger those ancient fears. General Ral shifted uncomfortably on his platform. Other Kresh leaders glanced at each other nervously. When the humans reached the center of the square, Jum gave the signal. One small tap of his foot. 5,000 humans stopped marching. The square fell silent. Then, as one, the humans began to laugh. That same hollow laugh that had spread across the empire. 5,000 voices creating a sound that echoed off the buildings. Several Kresh leaders stood up in alarm. One ran from the platform. The crowd grew restless, not understanding what was happening. "Continue the parade," Ral shouted. "This is some human trick." But the humans didn't move. They just kept laughing. And they looked up, directly at the Kresh leaders. 5,000 pairs of eyes, staring without fear. In that moment, Suk activated her hidden device. She had been working on it for months. It sent a signal to the central communication system. Every screen in the square changed. Instead of showing Kresh victories, they now showed the images from the crystals. The original Kresh, small, frightened creatures hiding from predators. Then scenes of laboratories, genetic manipulation. The truth of how the Kresh had changed themselves. "What is this?" Ral roared, turning to Jun. "What have you done?" But Jun wasn't looking at Ral. He was watching as the broadcast spread beyond the square. To every Kresh city, to every ship, to every colony world. The truth, hidden for centuries, now visible to all. Chaos erupted in the square. Kresh citizens pushed and shoved, trying to escape the sounds and images. The human soldiers remained perfectly still laughing. 3 more Kresh leaders flooded the platform. General Ral tried to maintain control, shouting orders that no one followed. In the confusion, Jun moved next to Ral. "Do you understand now?" he asked quietly. "Why we laugh at death?" Ral turned, his yellow eyes wide with a fear he could no longer hide. "What are you?" "We're what you made us," Jun answered. "Survivors. Fighters. Hyenas who learned to hunt." As alarms sounded across the city, Jun knew there was no going back. The hyenas had made their move. Now would come the hardest part, surviving what followed. 3 days after the celebration, chaos ruled the Kresh Empire. On 20 worlds, humans and other enslaved species had risen up against their masters. The broadcasts of the Kresh's true origins had spread everywhere. Jun and his team sat in a cold cell beneath the imperial palace. They had been captured during the confusion at the celebration. Now they waited for their punishment. "Was it worth it?" Hyun asked, tending to Suk's injured arm. Kresh guards had broken it during their capture. "It was," Jun said. "Even if we die here, we showed the truth. We broke their power." The cell door slid open. 6 armed Kresh guards entered, followed by General Ral. The general looked different now. His uniform was torn. His eyes darted around the cell nervously. "Bring them," Ral ordered. The guards took Jun and his team through dark hallways to a private chamber. There, Ral dismissed the guards. When they were alone, he turned to Jun. "You did this," Ral said. "You turned the empire against itself." Jun said nothing. "I want to know how," Ral continued. "How did you discover our past? How did humans organize across so many worlds? How did you know what would frighten us?" "Does it matter now?" Dai asked. "It matters to me," Ral shouted, slamming his fist on a table. Then more quietly, he added, "I need to understand." Jun looked at his team, then nodded. "We found ancient records. In the mines on that moon. Records of what the Kresh once were." "And the laughing?" Ral asked. "Why did that affect us so much?" "Because prey doesn't laugh at predators," Jun explained. "When we laughed, it confused you, made you uncertain, and uncertainty is the beginning of fear." Ral paced the room. "Why didn't you just fight us directly? Why this psychological attack?" "Because we couldn't win that way," Suk said, holding her broken arm. "But we knew your weakness. You changed your bodies, but not your minds. Deep inside, You're still prey animals, running from shadows. Rahl stopped pacing. For a long time, he was silent. The Imperial Council is divided, he finally said. Some want to kill all humans. Others are facing rebellions they can't control. Some have already fled to the outer colonies. And what do you want, General? June asked. Rahl looked at him directly. I want to understand something else. When my soldiers beat you, when they broke her arm, he pointed to Suk, you still showed no fear. How? Humans were never apex predators on your world. You were prey as much as we were. June smiled slightly. That's the difference between us, General. Humans have always known we could die. We faced it, accepted it. You ran from that truth, changed your bodies to escape it. But death finds everyone in the end. That's why we laugh, Hyun added. Not because we don't fear death, because we do, but we face it anyway. Before Rahl could respond, alarms sounded throughout the palace. A guard rushed into the room. General, rebels have breached the outer defenses, humans, and some Kresh are fighting together. Rahl seemed shocked. Kresh? Fighting with humans? Yes, sir. They say they want the truth acknowledged. They want change. Rahl dismissed the guard, then turned back to June. Your rebellion has turned some of my own people against the Empire. Not our rebellion, Daz said. The truth did that. Explosions sounded in the distance. The palace was under attack. Rahl made a decision. He unlocked their restraints. Go, he said. Join your rebellion. I won't stop you. Why? June asked, surprised. Rahl looked older suddenly, tired. Because I want to understand. Before this ends, I need to understand what makes humans different. As they left the room, June turned back. It's simple, General. Hyenas don't just laugh at death. They look it in the eye. 6 months after the celebration that broke the Empire, representatives from 12 species gathered in the old Imperial Hall. The same place where the Kresh had once celebrated their power now hosted the First Galactic Council. June sat at the table, representing Earth and all human colonies. Beside him sat Da, Hyun, and Suk, now his official advisors. They had survived the rebellion and helped shape what came after. The fighting had been brutal but short. Many Kresh commanders had surrendered when their troops refused to fight. Others fled to distant worlds. Some fought to the end, unable to accept the change. Most surprising were the Kresh who joined the rebellion. Young ones mostly, who had always questioned the Empire's stories. They now sat at the council table too, led by a female Kresh named Nera. The last Imperial stronghold surrendered yesterday, Nera announced. The war is truly over. The representatives cheered. 6 months of fighting had ended. Now came the harder part, building something new. What happens to the Kresh who fought against us? Asked the representative from Deimos 3, the mining world where the first resistance had begun. They will face justice, Nera said, but not revenge. We're building something better than the Empire. June nodded in agreement. Revenge would make us like the old Empire. We must be better. Some representatives argued for harsher punishment. The debate lasted hours. June watched silently, letting others speak. Finally, when the room grew quiet, he stood. I led the first resistance against the Kresh, he said. I had every reason to hate them. They killed my friends, made humans into slaves. But hate isn't what freed us. He looked around the room. Understanding freed us. We won because we understood the Kresh better than they understood themselves. Suk stood beside him. The Empire fell because it was built on lies. If we build on revenge now, we'll create something just as broken. The council voted. Justice would come, but not revenge. Former enemies would have a chance to join the new society. As the meeting ended, Jun noticed General Rahl standing in the doorway. The former Kresh leader looked different now. His imperial uniform was gone. He wore simple clothes. His posture was less commanding. June approached him. "I didn't expect to see you here. I requested permission to speak with you," Ral said. "Your guards were reluctant, but I convinced them." "What do you want?" June asked. Ral looked around at the diverse species working together in the hall. "I want to understand how this works. Different species, former enemies, building together. The Empire lasted for centuries because we believed we were naturally superior. What will hold this new society together?" June thought for a moment. Not fear, not force. Something stronger. The truth that we all face the same end, no matter our species. We're all mortal, all limited. But together, we can build something that lasts beyond our short lives. Ral seemed to consider this. The young Kresh are embracing our true history now, learning about what we once were. Some are even proud of how far we've come from those small, frightened creatures. "As they should be," June said. "There's no shame in having been prey, only in denying the truth." A group of human and Kresh children ran through the hall, playing together. They laughed, not the hollow laugh of resistance, but the simple joy of children at play. Ral watched them with wonder. "I never understood laughter before, but I'm beginning to." June smiled. "It's a start." As Ral walked away, Dai joined June by the window. "Do you think this peace will last?" he asked. "Nothing lasts forever," June said. "But we've built something worth fighting for." Outside, the sun set on the capital city. Once it had been the center of an empire of fear. Now it was something new. Not perfect, not without problems, but free. The hyenas had laughed at death. They had turned on their masters. And now, they were building a future where no species would master another again.